Well, it's 5 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. As you folks had time to look at the minutes, corrections, additions, questions,
Make a motion to accept them.
motion to accept the minutes. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Well, whenever you're ready, Emilio.
Do you want, just quick roll call for attendance?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, roll call.
Franklin,
Here.
Ken Anderson,
Here.
Wayne Renigan.
Here.
Ken Visker.
Here.
And Jim Weezer.
Here.
I'm gonna get fired. That's the second time I've made that mistake.
All right,
Oh,
so
you can go ahead.
please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. John Goodwin and Shelley Helland, for part of the northeast southeast quarter in section 9, township 104, range 4 of Houston County, within La Crescent Township. There's 3 variances. 1, a variance to reduce the side yard setback requirements for replacement of a garage. 2, a variance to reduce the front yard setback. And 3, variance to allow an accessory structure nearer the front lot line than the principal building. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5 p.m. on Thursday, November 21st. All persons having an interest in the matter may attend the hearing or submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed to myself and must be received by Tuesday, November 12th of 2024 to be included for review prior to the hearing. All comments are considered part of the public record, and that was advertised on November 6th of 2024.
Are the applicants here? You can come up if you want to take a couple of chairs up here. Tell us what your plans are, tell the board or whatever.
Go ahead and sit.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. This is my first meeting like this, so excuse me if I'm a little nervous.
No bite.
The first thing I wanted to do was thank Amelia because she helped guide us through this whole process. We bought the property when we live here, and she helped even before we bought the property and helped us all the way through. So thank you, Amelia, for your patience and your expertise. So with that said, we purchased our home, and we have a existing garage that was built in 1959 that is falling down. It's not safe, it's failing. And we need a garage so that we can put our truck, my husband's fishing boat, and our lawnmower, which we just purchased. And we need just a basic garage for those things. We asked Mark Brickell to do a survey and take a look at what that would entail. And he has submitted some drawings, where the proposed building would be. It's as close as we possibly can be to the existing building.
okay.
And like I said, it's just a basic garage for our truck, a boat, and a lawnmower. And it sits back so it doesn't impede the view or the roadway of County 6 Highway. And like I said, it's as close to the existing building as we could possibly get.
So are you gonna put a building alongside the building?
No,
You're gonna take down the falling down building?
yes, take down the falling down
Replace it.
building and take out a tree as well that's there, and then put it as close to that building as we can, following the codes and the property lines and all the setbacks that we need to follow.
The current building is built into the bank, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
The new one, how are you gonna build that? Will that be done the same way or?
It's projected to be moved forward,
Forward.
so there will be like a smaller retaining wall, but it will not be built into the hillside.
This last picture in our handout, it shows the new building will be farther from the lot line. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
The other one is dangerously close.
And Mark had located those
And Mark, yeah, he had located the pins, so we knew exactly
Okay.
where the lines were.
There was a comment from a neighbor about water runoff. Are you aware of that?
Correct, yes, I am.
Okay.
And that is Daniel Harlows.
Yes.
He's our neighbor right there. And he has also built an outbuilding with a garage door. It may be a garage, it's long and narrow. It is, the roof of that building is only 2 feet above the ground level of our lot. So I can see why he would be concerned with the runoff. By building the building more forward, that existing foundation would remain, although the walls would be taken down. And the water runoff that he was concerned with should not impact his existing building.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't blame him, his
Any
built
questions?
down in there.
Any more questions from the board? I read in here someplace about it's possible that doesn't have anything to do with our variance or allowing a variance or denying whatever, but that the city might annex this in. When the city annexes a portion of a city in, they, assumably, they accept everything that's there as grandfathered in. You're not supposed to use that word, but I still use it.
That's correct. I guess that was just more for my curiosity because they are so close to that city limit boundary. I was curious as to if we were to allow some of this, if it would be vastly different than what the city allows. And actually their setbacks to side and rear property lines are very similar. And also the rule of having the building behind the principal structure is the same within the city, so
Okay.
yeah. So it was very, very much the same as what we would look at.
Did we get any comments from the public, or anybody from the public here want to comment on this?
Just that one from the neighbor. I didn't hear anything from the township.
Okay. Any more questions from the board? So we should go ahead with the findings then?
All right, so number one, that the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Staff analysis says that the ordinance allows for reduced setbacks provided there are practical difficulties in meeting standards, and the land use plan encourages development to conform to the natural limitations presented by topography and soils, so as to create the least potential for soil erosion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number two,
There are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Staff analysis states that the proposed use of a garage is reasonable, and relocating the building in the existing location may be the best option since it limits alteration of the natural topography.
all in favor of two, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
3, that the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Analysis states that the existing structure and asphalt driveway was constructed by a previous landowner prior to zoning regulations. This request is asking to utilize that existing infrastructure, and this proposed location would likely have a lesser impact on the natural environment than if the applicant built in a location that met all standards.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
4, that the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Analysis states that the building can be located east or north of the dwelling and meet all setback requirements, but would require a substantial amount of disturbance to the hillside. The Board of Adjustment may consider that an unreasonable option.
All in favor of four,
I
say
guess
move by
if you
say-
guys would like to modify these in any way.
Is there any reason to do that?
No, I just forgot to mention it at the beginning.
Sure.
You're always welcome to change them, though.
I mean, is there any reason to change it? I'm asking the board.
Right now, I don't see any on this one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
5, that the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis states that the variance will allow replacement of a legal, non-conforming structure that has been present for over 60 years, and the properties to both the east and west have similar site layouts, so there will be no alteration to the character of the neighborhood.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Go ahead.
6, that the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Analysis states that this is not a use variance and is not allowing a prohibited use. There is no floodplain in the vicinity.
All in favor of 6, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is
I'll make a motion to accept the findings.
there a second?
I'll second that.
Ken? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any other questions from the board or comments from the public before we proceed?
You have, I mean, you require a runoff plan for this?
Not technically for a garage, no. We only typically do erosion control plans in
When-
dwellings.
I don't know if this is pertinent or not, but when we spoke with Mark
Mark?
Brickle,
Oh,
who
okay.
was gonna do the,
Yep.
he did the site plan, that the existing garage foundation would remain, and the water, yes, that's gonna stay, the walls are coming down. And then the retaining wall and everything should mitigate that runoff.
The retaining
Concern.
wall stays as well,
That's-
or you're building a new one?
That's what I understood, is that would address that.
Anything else? Do you want to read, when you get done there, Amelia, do you want to read the proposed variance when you get done there?
So, to grant a variance of 5 feet to meet the required 15-foot side yard setback, a variance of 20 feet to meet the required 100-foot front yard setback, and a variance to allow an accessory building nearer the front lot line than the principal building.
So move.
Ken made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Jim Weezer,
Yes.
Wayne Runnigan,
Yes.
Franklin Hahn,
Yes.
Ken Anderson.
Yes.
And Ken Bisker.
Yes.
Okay, you're good to go.
Well, thank you for,
Place
Just
for
so-
your new lawn.
so happy to be here, and so grateful again for everything. And my husband right there may be the happiest person in the world before Christmas, because he'll have a place for his boat, his truck, and his lawnmower. So this was
I couldn't put the boat in the other because it's about to fall down.
yeah. So this, and it's too low. It's more like a shed. So thank you so much.
Did they quit ice
Got an
fishing
early
'cause he
Christmas.
took long to chop his boat through the ice?
Thank you.
What's that?
That Norwegian that quit ice fishing because it took too long to chop his boat through the ice. Maybe that's what you should think about.
I'm gonna get in touch with you.
Okay,
Because we're not stuck building.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yep. What kind of lawnmower?
Is there any other kind?
Yeah.
He's excited because he has a snow blower attachment, so. Anyway.
Yeah, I never got to do that yet.
Let her snow, huh?
Well, a number of years ago, one of the big shots, we got time, we can't go on the next one for another 5 minutes. One of the big shots in John Deere was, and this is true story, was analyzing what they should be doing with their farm equipment. And somebody came up with the bright idea that they were gonna take over and really emphasize into the lawnmower business. Because I read how many millions of lawns there was and how many people that owned lawnmowers. And they went after the lawnmower business, and I think they do have the majority of the lawnmowers. They don't have them all by no means, but I mean, but that was the story behind why they went after them. I was reading in the paper about it.
Goats. Have to put gas in a goat.
Get some goats and lease for that too. If you-
There you go.
Yeah, that'd work too.
Thank you.
Could even get a cow and then you could milk her and then you'd have fresh milk. You wouldn't have to buy it.
Or shovel the manure.
Where it says fertilize the lawns, then you'd
Yeah,
have to
that's
buy a new
fertilizer.
lawnmower.
I'll buy a couple of billy goats. I can take care of that for you, Frank.
So you got that figured out?
I dropped meetings down to 15-minute increments at one point, because you guys are going quick, and then looks like I've increased it again, but do you wanna start scheduling in
There's
15,
Jennings shed over
every
here.
15 minutes,
Oh,
or?
okay.
This is
It
coming.
varies so much.
It's hard,
from
yeah,
the-
it's hard to
Bruce
plan
Field
for it,
Road.
but,
You'll end up with one that'll take a half hour or
Okay.
better all of a
Everything
sudden.
yeah,
away from the
I mean, it's
fence
just,
line.
each one is so unique.
Okay.
yeah, that's very
Down
true.
here.
I mean,
The
that
only
one
thing
there
is
was just
Jennings
really
shed,
obviously just replacing
Yeah,
a building that
okay.
which has a
was out
hand,
of bounds anyway.
not
Yeah.
Kansas,
Right,
but he's got a permit.
yeah.
And, you know, it's pretty hard not to say that it's okay to replace it somewhere close to that same area.
Yeah,
Well, that's good to see. Okay, it's 5:20. You can go ahead, Amelia.
Rich, please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. John and Carol Dearson, who are in section 10, township 102, range 5 of Houston County in Mayfield Township. They're looking for a variance to reduce setback requirements for a proposed dwelling from an existing feedlot. And a hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room in Caledonia at 5:20 PM on Thursday, November 21st, 2024. All persons having an interest in the matter may attend the hearing or submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed to myself and must be received by Tuesday, November 12th, of 2024, to be included for review prior to the hearing. All comments are considered part of the public record. That was advertised on November 6th of 2024.
Okay, most of you know me, John Dearson. My wife and I and our two sons live in County 3, and we operate a dairy farm, and we'd like to transition, we're in the process of transitioning farm over to the boys, and my one son was planning on moving out there. And we tried to buy a house locally and stuff like that, but we just couldn't get the job done or a house available. And so we lived in the country all our entire life and don't really look forward to moving to town, and the housing situation is pretty tough, you know, finding a house in town. So we'd like to stay close to the farm so we can help as long as possible. So that's why we're looking into building this house. And like she mentioned, we have a feedlot that is not operable right now, but it's still active. So that's why we had to look into the variance. And I guess my question to you at the same time is a feedlot that is inactive, can they be inactive all the time, or is there a time limit on that?
I think as long as it's a registered, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think as long as it's a registered feedlot, it stays registered. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there's kind of two different components of it. There's the state registration requirement, and then there's our local regulation.
I mean, I have no objection to him having that feedlot. It's just that, you know, how long of a time period,
I think on the feedlot form, if you're supposed to state how long it's been empty if they aren't.
Yeah.
Any cattle on there.
Yeah, so they had talked to me before they purchased the property, and they transferred the registration as soon as they did purchase it. And then, they just permitted a building in 2020, I think, or since that point in time. And in that permit, they did identify that they plan to use it for animal confinement. So I think they're kind of working on the construction on their own, and, you know how projects go.
Yeah.
So, all along, they have identified that they're going to restock it at some point.
So to answer John's question, then, as if it's 5 years or whatever that you inspect them, then is there, on the form, is there, after 5 years, it's still an active feedlot? I think that's what John was searching for.
So from the state feedlot standpoint, you're supposed to register the feedlot for whatever it has the capacity to hold. So even if it's empty, it can still hold cattle at some point in time. And then from the zoning side, I think we do see some people maintain registrations strictly because they think that it affords them affords them a protection. And we don't have great language in our local ordinance to say that if it's not, even though it might be registered, if it hasn't been stocked in a certain period of time, that it kind of just disappears. So not a great answer, but
Well, I understand. I mean, it's, I guess if I was in that situation, you never know what years ahead are, as far as somebody that's wants to have cattle and stuff, so.
How long has it been empty?
No, since he bought it, probably 4 or
Yeah.
5 years.
that's what he bought it in 2018. And I don't think that Jennings ever actually stocked it. I think they started tearing down
They
buildings.
use it
right
for
away.
hay storage right now, so I don't know if that's a
Very,
termination
Talked to David and Mark Jennings, Tyler wants to start out a beef, putting a feedlot there.
Okay,
I mean, that's all I can tell you.
I mean, I don't have no objection to it, you know, and stuff, but that's why we had to apply for the variance.
yeah.
Yeah. I did call Mark before I made John to double check that that was still his intent. Once in a while you get people that do say, oh, we'll just close our feedlot to make it, clean, but he did say that they plan to use it in the future.
Now, looking at the map, it looks like there's a feedlot right across the road from the Jennings.
Yeah, that one they barely
Too
made.
close also, or no?
That one is just over 1,400 feet, so.
Okay.
And from what I understand, I don't know how far they go out with this, when you have to notify people. I think, well, Chuck was over last night, we were talking over some other stuff, but anyway, I think his dad got one, and there's no objection, but I mean, I don't know how far away you gotta be to okay this ordinance and stuff like that, but there's nobody that said they were opposed to it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we didn't have any comment for this.
No comments from the public, other than,
A quarter mile up the neighbors?
Yeah, our 10 closest, so it usually ends up going more than a quarter mile when you get into the rural areas where there's a lot of acreage under.
And maybe David got a
Township, so.
notice, because I don't know if the land where Chuck lives, if it's still in David's name, or he just has the house dwelling. Maybe that's why he got a notification, I don't know.
Is the feedlot advisory committee,
Yeah, so I didn't get that out and had, in order to get it in your packet. And I sent it out last week and I have heard back from a few of them and maybe Larry will provide comments here. Cindy did let me know today. I apologize for not getting anything drafted up, but she did stop in today and she thought that, she didn't see a problem with it. Both her and Wayne actually kind of had the same message in that they liked the fact that it was transitioning another generation out to the farm, and they thought that was of value. Greg said too that he didn't have an issue with it. I'll let him speak for himself. And Larry speak for himself, and maybe Jim, if you guys have any comments. But you have to come to the front, would be the stipulation, Larry.
I only got one comment, is they all three got feedlot. Like Amelia said, it's nice to have the next generation coming back. We don't keep enforcing that, making generations, we're not gonna be.
It's family,
It's family,
all about the family.
all family farms.
Yep.
well, once again, these run with the land, the family may not be there. So what we do we can't take consideration of families because these are ordinances and variances that run with the land. We need to think about that. We do this. And then we got the issue of how will this new construction affect the existing feedlot? Been through this before.
Yes, we have.
And how did we handle it the last time?
yes. Last time what we did was we talked about it and we'd like to protect the feedlot owner, but we have one of two choices. Either we allow the variance according to the ordinance. If according to the ordinance, we don't allow the variance, if we want to allow the variance, we'd have to protect the feedlot owners, we'd have to change the ordinance, is what, I agree with what you're saying, but it's right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but 1,320 feet, correct?
Yep.
And I'm not opposed to this by no means, but there's no way that we as a Board of Adjustment can give a variance and still protect the feedlot if it changes hands, to my knowledge, unless I'm wrong.
What if we granted a variance with the provision that the owner of that property, the variance that we're granting, doesn't have the ability to object to any expansion issues on the field? Is there a way to do that?
And I think the last time we did it, include just language in that permit that said that it wouldn't, the intent was not to impact the feedlot in the future. And I believe in the discussions with the county attorney afterward is that it really, I mean, it doesn't, well, we can put that in there, but it really doesn't mean anything in the future.
I guess I don't have any objections, you know, as far as my standpoint, if you did put a feedlot in. And if I don't know if most of you know, the previous owner was Leo McCormick's. And they had a feedlot there, and if you can, the feedlot was on this side, you have a valley through here, and the work land's on this side, and we're building over here. And I don't see him building this way, it'd be over here. I mean, and I wouldn't have any problem with it.
And I guess my other comment would be that if the land ever transferred, I guess I look at the variance as sort of what you're stating. And in the title search, those future owners should see that a feedlot variance was granted. And while it's not always obvious, part of that is that you're recognizing that that owner built closer to a feedlot, and there are nuisances that may go along with that.
I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about now you have a situation where this other feedlot is affected by this new dwelling. And so anything that they do is going to require a variance. And that's the concern. Every time we do this, we affect that feedlot in terms of future, whatever they want to do, expansion or building or whatever, because now they have essentially a structure that affects their property. And I don't have any problem with you doing what you want to do. It's just that by granting that variance, that affects the ability of that feedlot to make changes in the future. Without a variance, they would have to come in for a variance because we've granted yours. That's the problem.
And in this particular situation, there's already two houses closer, so.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Yeah.
We had that with jumpers too.
Well,
Yeah.
there's one to the north, I guess.
They're already within that.
Yeah,
They're within the
another one
limit?
kind of northeast.
So there is a house up above that. So if they was gonna put a feedlot, they wouldn't wanna put it closer to the house, would they? They would wanna go farther south.
So go back for
I
a
would
second.
think-
There's already structures within that feedlot boundary?
Yes, so McCormick's have two houses, two dwellings on the
Okay,
north
so
side
the guy
of the
would
road right
require a
there.
variance anyway.
Yeah,
Never mind. We're good.
I guess it kind of depends on
I have
which
a-
direction you go and who's interpreting the ordinance at that time, but like.
I have a question for you, Amelia, and I'm not picking this apart. When this is recorded, this variance, and then it's on the abstract, for the new owners now, I'm not saying that your family isn't gonna buy your house, but you know, when something happens and it's sold off, somebody lives in town, comes out in the town, city. In the language, is there in there that they know that there could be odor, there could be dust, or is not that recorded in the abstract?
That's not technically recorded. All the variance order would state is that there's a variance was granted to meet the speed lot setback.
Okay, I was
They would
just
have
curious.
to do their due diligence and look at the ordinance or,
Well, I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench in there, I was just trying to learn, so.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 houses closer than what John.
Yeah, I realize that, yeah.
And I'm satisfied. I just didn't want your variance to impact him. He's already impacted.
Yeah.
So the question is moved for me. I'm good.
Anything else?
I just had one question. Normally in situations like this, people will build, a new dwelling close to the other buildings. And I'm just curious about your thought process of, instead of building near the other buildings, why move it away from the buildings?
Well, I don't think your granddaughter, or my daughter-in-law probably, we talked about maybe just adding on to the house, and
Sure.
That's going back 60, 80 years the way people did it, but I mean, I don't think my daughter-in-law would appreciate us putting it in the backyard, but, you know, there's privacy issues and, we just thought, personally, you know, building up, it's probably some of our best land, but I mean, it's easy access off of County 3.
Yep.
And, it's up in the corner, and if we put in a septic system, it's gonna work out all right. We built, or moved it back from the road more than what we thought already, so we don't have that big mound. I don't know if you're familiar with the septic systems and the mound system. And, more or less, that's why, you know, and it's, our grandkids get off the school bus just like I did when I was a kid. They come there every day, except when they're in sports and stuff, but the driveway up there, they can still get off and go. And, I'll be going back and forth probably with a gator or truck, you know,
So
till I can.
you could move, to make it compliant, you could shift the dwelling over. I think I estimated roughly, you'd have to go about as far as where that existing field access road is. Why, there's like a low spot in the hill there, or why don't you want to shift the building, that direction?
Just, it worked out better for the septic system when we had the guy analyze, you know, the system and everything. And he just thought it was a better way to do it. And we're further away from the road, you know, whether it's noise or whatever.
Like a swale or waterway down through there.
Yeah, if you go
Yep.
more
that's
east,
what-
yeah, it's more of a slope, not very much, but you know, we are gonna build it, I mean, you won't have to have much of a buildup, you know, for the water to run off.
Yep, it's sitting up on top and it's gonna be a good place for runoff and the sewer's in the right spot and the only problem is he's gonna catch a lot of wind.
I was gonna say, and flying a kite.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if, you're welcome to come out and look at the site if you want, I mean, it's.
Anything else, comments, anything, questions before we go to the findings? Go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that, I mean, he does, I forget how many total acres you have there, but you are kind of surrounded, or he is kind of surrounded, to the south by other farms too, so, to find another open quarter and something close to the road, he would sort of be in the same situation all around. Okay. So number one, that the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Staff analysis states that this location meets the density control system put in place by the zoning ordinance, and the comprehensive plan encourages development to take place in a manner that minimizes impact to prime ag land.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Two, that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Analysis states that the applicants own over 120 acres in this location, and a farm dwelling is a permitted use. One of the quarters is occupied, and there are feedlots in almost all directions that may impact potential building sites. This is an operating farm, and while building within the setback is not optimal, it will minimize impacts to tillable acreage. In addition, shifting the dwelling to the east enough to meet the setback puts the dwelling in a low spot that will require more alteration to the land than necessary at the proposed location.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Three, that the variance request is due to special circumstances or conditions unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Analysis states that this is an area of the county used heavily for agriculture, and as a result, there are a number of registered feedlots to contend with. The applicants are producers themselves and are looking for an opportunity to downsize their dwelling but still reside on the farm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Four, that the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Analysis states that the landowners can move the structure to the east to meet the setback, but the Board of Adjustment may see the value of minimizing disturbance to prime tillable acreage as a higher priority.
I'd like to, with the board's permission, I'd like to change the wording on that one. I would like to see it read, and it's up to the board. I would like to see it changed to the landowners can move the structure to the east, but to the east to meet the setbacks, but this would minimize disturbance to prime tillable acreage. The way I interpret this is that you're telling us that we're supposed to prioritize the value of the land. Maybe I'm all wrong on that? Am I reading this wrong?
I guess that was my, to sort of leave it open because it is,
Franklin, you can add your own reasoning for whatever you do. This is just staff analysis. We don't have to all agree with this.
Okay. All right, I'm just asking.
but yeah, that was my intent, was to leave it, or I mean, to leave it kind of open-ended like that because he can potentially move it, but I don't know where your guys' priorities lie. So you are welcome to change it if you want to.
So,
No,
if I,
I don't want to vote against it to deter his, or
Oh.
their.
I understand what you're, I think I understand what you're saying. If I would move it east, I wouldn't have to apply for this variance, is that correct?
Yeah, you wouldn't have had to.
But
But I think it's more concrete what you're proposing to.
the biggest reason for the variance is because if you move it further east, you run into more of a highly erodible situation with the waterways and stuff.
I
Yeah.
know, so he'd be in the middle of a bigger field where this way he's on the
Right.
corner,
Right.
which makes sense to me, but
Yep, I agree with that.
let's have a roll call vote on it then on this one.
So, to say the landowners can move the structure to the
Well,
east.
Ken says that we gotta leave it that way and then I can vote against it and why I vote against it is what Ken.
Well, the staff analysis is not part of the, well, our findings. Our findings are just the statement of fact. You can have any reason for voting for it.
You guys should put it in there as a condition.
I'm lost. I don't know what we're talking about.
Just that the staff analysis is not what we always agree with. That's basically what it
And
boils
what's the
down.
problem with the staff analysis again?
Well, maybe it's just me.
He can move the structure further east to not need the setback, but he would be creating more environmental problems, in my opinion.
Well, the way I read this, and I'll read it again, the way I reworded it, the landowners can move the structure to the east to meet the setback, but this would minimize distances to prime tillable acreage. So the way I anticipate that, if he moves it, he's gonna take out more of his tillable acres. Now, maybe I'm all wet here,
I
but,
think you're right there. But that's your reasoning for,
okay, so we'll have a roll call vote on this one.
Okay, Jim Weezer,
We're voting on the
We're
staff.
voting the way it's,
as written.
the way it's written.
Okay,
It's
well, the
okay.
staff analysis.
I
is
say
not-
yes.
Wayne Runigan,
I say yes because it's in a better spot.
Franklin Hahn,
Well, I would vote yes, but I'd like to see the alteration the way I read it. Because I don't want to penalize them because I interpret the staff analysis different than other people.
We're not voting on the staff analysis. We're voting on the variance, and you need to look at the,
No, we're not voting on the variance. We're voting on the, we're doing the staff analysis. Then we get down to voting
No,
for the.
no. We only vote on staff, the variance. We never vote on staff analysis. That's just an opinion.
you do need vote at least majority to approve the staff.
Yeah, I'm not trying to squelch their, go ahead.
Ken Anderson,
I'll say yes, I think it's the best location for construction of that house. Meet the setbacks would not be as good for the land.
and Ken Bistiger.
yes.
Go ahead to 5.
5, that the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis states that the proposal will allow a farm dwelling which is commonly found in this location.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
6, that the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Analysis states that this is an area variance and it is not in the vicinity of floodplain.
All in favor of 6, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to accept the findings?
So move.
Second.
Wayne seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, then do you want to read the proposed variance, Amelia?
So to grant a variance of 230 feet for a proposed dwelling within the required 1,320 foot setback for a registered feedlot.
So move.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in, roll call.
Jim Weezer,
Yes.
Wayne Runnigan,
Yes.
Franklin Hahn,
Yes.
Ken Anderson.
Yes.
And Ken Visker.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't trying to run you through the ringer.
I have a question as long as I'm here for the board and what we've gone through. And not that I intend to do this, but say sometime down the road, if I wanted to build a 20 by 30 storage shed there, do I have to get another variance or does this variance take care of that?
This variance is actually for the dwelling, and you could just do a storage shed as an egg, or an egg building is just a permitted use, so you shouldn't need another variance, provided you can meet all your property line setbacks and everything.
So he would or would not, just to get a building permit, he would not need a variance, just get a building permit?
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
As long as I have the variance
Right.
already?
What if he sells the land to his son and they build? Would they need a variance?
For the egg building?
Like-
Yeah, I don't know how you guys are planning to split that off, but,
It'll probably.
it'll depend, yeah, on how you do that. You'll wanna make sure you,
Whether it's in the will or something like that, down the line, I guess I'm not gonna be around when they gotta decide.
What does the 1,320 feet mean? I mean, if he built inside of that or outside of that,
that requirement's actually only for dwellings.
only for dwelling?
Yep.
And you can do it, you can do anything with a storage building.
So yeah, the storage building, depending on where you draw property lines, and maybe if you're gonna leave it all in your name, then it won't matter. But that would be the only thing is the property lines.
I can tell you one thing, it's hard to get into farming, but it's a lot harder to get out of it.
No matter
Tell
how
me
hard
about
you
it.
try.
Ain't that the truth?
Win the lottery and then you can just keep farming until it's all gone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good luck.